Going on, Jerome's? Happy Thursday. Happy Thirsty Thursday out there to those who celebrate. It's time for another Vikings news dump. He sees you win, you're pooping. That's right. Get your Jerome gear. Store is restocked. Produce Alley working hard for the money and really getting after things. So represent. Holiday season coming up. It's going to be looking good. I know everyone and their mom talking about, the Vikings are 5-0. But remember 2016? Remember 2003? How come no one's focusing on the positive here? What about 98? Now, the Vikings didn't collapse like 2003 or 2016. They just collapsed later. So delaying the collapse as long as possible. But a Vikings insider put this out. Through the first 5 weeks, 98 Vikings 5-0. Same as the 2024 Vikings. Point differential, Vikings 98, Vikings 70, 2024 Vikings 63. They were the same after 4 games. Viking 98, 220-plus point wins, same 2024. Vikings kicking 98, 100%. But we know what happened. Maybe Riker should just shank one just for schnitz and giggles. Just take like a 33-yard chip shot when the Vikings already have a 30-point lead. Just like put it into the second deck. Why not? Randy Moss leading the team in the receiving 463. JJ with 450. And then bye week 6, Vikings bye week 6. So, not saying, I'm just saying. It's almost like the NFL got lazy and they just reused the same script, even though stylistically, obviously, they're not the same team at all. Also, so I know that Sling and Sam Darnold had a down game in a foreign country at a neutral site in bad weather with no Aaron Jones against one of the best defenses in the league, but obviously he's a bust. Yeah. But PFF pointed out Sling and Sam Darnold, a.k.a. America's quarterback, now has 11 deep ball completions on the year, the most of any quarterback along with Trevor Lawrence. So, esteemed company. Yeah, but the Vikings, they love taking shots with Darnold, and there are a couple issues up front. Let's just call it what it is. Like the A-gap in between Bradbury and Ed Ingram. I mean, a lot of pressure gets tossed in between there, right? But Darnold, like he does have great deep ball accuracy. He's got a great arm, and he likes to sling it. All right, so hopefully Darnold will get back on the horse the rest of the year. Pretty confident. Speaking of confident, so after USC loused against the Gophers, Sling and Sam Darnold is going to be leading out his alma mater, USC, out of the tunnel out in L.A. against Penn State. A classic route. Also, it's so weird to have like USC and UCLA and Oregon now in the Big Ten, because now every single game it looks like the Rose Bowl. You know what I mean? Because you got the Big Ten team versus the Pac-12 team, formerly known as the Pac-12. Yeah. But yeah, cool that Darnold's going to be able to do that on his bye week. And I love seeing that too. Like players on their bye week, or if they play on Thursday night, and then they get that mini bye afterwards, heading back to the alma mater and going out winning the day, fighting on. There you go. Also, speaking of alma maters, so Justin friggin' Jefferson, I love A Football Life. It's a great documentary series covering the football life, players, coaches, execs, and whatnot. And Jefferson, so they have a mini one. Obviously, the whole story about Jefferson's career ain't written yet. Hopefully going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer and many, many Super Bowl rings. Love to see that. Maybe the all-time yards leader, all-time touchdowns leader. Who knows? Who knows, man? But, going back in high school, so Jefferson was a very lightly recruited player coming on out. He was a 2-star recruit. Ended up at LSU basically because his brother Jordan was a star quarterback there. His brother Ricky also played linebacker / safety there as well. And they're just like, we'll take the kid as a legacy. Well, why not? But Jefferson's talk about how he went to one of the LSU camps and all these 4 or 5-star guys, and he was just cooking them. And that gave him confidence, man, and absolutely got after things. So it's a really cool little series. So go check that out. Yeah. Also checking out. Speaking of, so Chris Carter knows a thing or two about great NFL wide receivers, right? So basically grew up Larry Fitzgerald, mentor. Larry Fitz, a ball boy for the Vikings back in the day. Also, big bro for Randy Moss. So he's been around greatness, and he is freaking greatness. So he knows that, right? Vikes fan page. Chris Carter told Brandon Marshall that Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in Vikings history. Jefferson had this to say when he heard about it, quote, "Wow, that's crazy. To put me in front of him, that's something that kind of speaks for itself. You know, as a receiver, you're never putting somebody else in front of you, especially how Chris Carter has played and what he has done for the Vikings organization. That's special. Words don't even reflect how I feel about that," end quote. And that is really high praise, man, because so first off, like you know, like Chris Carter back in the day, like he was an absolute alpha. Like he's a competitor, gonna rip your heart out. I'm the best type guy. And I don't know, maybe it's just age, perspective, something like that. But you know, being a couple years removed from being a competitor, but I mean, this is something that Chris Carter would never say. Like he would never admit, like during his playing career, that Moss is better than him. I don't know, but the fact that you got Chris Carter, for my money, a top 5 receiver of all time, and you could make a very good argument that he's the number 1 receiver in Vikings franchise history. Randy Moss had a better career, but a lot of that wasn't in purple, right? And Chris Carter, he started out with the Eagles and didn't go very well in Philly, but he got here and got right and became one of the best wide receivers of all time. And his career with the Dolphins, which is anyways, but yeah, you know, CC saying that's very, very high praise, and also speaks to the respect that Justin Jefferson deserves, and as well as the trajectory that he's projected to pan out on. Also, a couple rings in purple one time, man. Now, also, speaking of one time, Will Raggett, Sports Illustrated, Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show talking about Brian Flores' defense. Quote, "Very good scheme by him, and the execution, obviously, is the most important thing. They have all the different looks with different guys, different spots. They can play cover 2 sky from it. They can play straight up Tampa 2. They can play where the corners are half-field players. They can bring everybody. They can play one high out of that." Well, I think there's one high pictured here, and it's not Will. They can play a faux man out of that. They can do a lot of things, and it's a credit to how they practice and the flexibility that they have with those players in those positions. And you could even tell, like, you know, the Flores defense was doing their usual thing, bluffing, showing out looks, and just dropping into things that you would not expect. And even a guy allegedly an all-time legend like Aaron Rodgers was struggling. Right, and it's something that's baffled Jordan Love the week before, C.J. Stroud before that, Brock Purdy, and then Daniel Jones before that. So it's going to continue. It really is going to continue. And also, you look at the schedule. So Jared Goff. Hey, did you know that Jared Goff had 18 straight completions? Congratulations. But Stafford with no offensive line. Anthony Richardson or Jumping Joe Flacco. Trevor Lawrence, you gone. Will Levis, you gone. Caleb Williams, you gone. Gonna be fun, man. It's absolutely gonna be fun. Also, speaking of which, coaching does matter, right? And yeah, I mean, the Vikings have an influx of new players on defense this year, and a lot of high football IQ, loving their teammates, loving the game type players. But I mean, last year Flores took this defense, which was 31st in the league in scoring, turned into the 13th best, and largely the same players as the Donishell year. So coaching does indeed matter, and I'm really happy that Kevin O'Connell admitted his mistake and moved on very quickly. Because with Donishell, he was brought in because they wanted shades of the Fangio defense, right? And Donatell had been a Fangio assistant for many, many years, but it just wasn't working out. And you know, respect to O'Connell for after 1 year axing a coach that has decades more experience than him, and having the guts to do that. I don't think a lot of first-time head coaches would have been able to do that after the first season. So respect there. Also respect Andrew Van frickin' Ginkel, second pick 6 of the year, and great moment. Also, I love that every single game is mic'd up now. It's awesome, man. But the Vikings put out a great clip where Blake Cashman running, catching up to Andrew Van Ginkel. AVG dropped the ball. Cashman scooped it up, make sure that he has it for his trophy case. Sam Van Ginkel, Andrew Van Ginkel's awesome wife. My favorite part is Blake making sure Andrew gets the ball to take home. You got to hold on to that one. That's how tight this team is, man. I love it. I love football, man. Yeah. Also, Andrew Van Ginkel, Vikings comms, the only player in NFL history with 3 sacks and multiple interception return touchdowns in his team's first 5 games of a season. Again, it's one of those very specific stats, but also it's something that's going to hold up, because you would think so. A player that gets sacks, generally not going to be getting interceptions or pick sixes. And a player that's going to be in a spot for interceptions and pick sixes generally ain't going to be blitzing. That speaks to the value of the hybridness of AVG and how he's perfect in this Flores defense. And also, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, like, I feel like as a wide receiver, Andrew Van Ginkel is severely underpaid at $10 million per. But so Andrew Van Ginkel, 2 receiving touchdowns a season, same as Diggs, Amonra, CD, DK, and more than Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, and Tyreek Hill. No big deal. No problem, man. Yeah. And lastly, I just like... It's still so funny. The reaction that Darnold had at the night practice when he got pick six by Andrew Van Ginkel in a very similar spot as the Rodgers pick six. His reaction will never not be funny. Just slumped, just defeated by this Flores defense. And thinking back like training camp and stuff, and McCarthy and Darnold saying that can't wait till the preseason games. Can't wait to play the Raiders so we don't have to go up against Flores' defense every single day. They weren't BSing. they were telling the truth. It's awesome, man. Something that would have been less awesome. So Vikings-Lions week 7 is going to be a heavyweight fight. And the Vikings-Lions scheduled at high noon, shootout the OK Corral. But there has been some thought that maybe the game will get flexed to Sunday Night Football. Now, looked up the rules and procedures here. So they've changed since they started the flex in 2006. But now for Sunday Night Football, it can be used up to twice between weeks 5 and 10. That would be week 7. And it would be at the NFL's discretion weeks 11 through 17. Fans and ticket holders must be aware that the NFL games and the flex scheduling windows are subject to change generally at least 12 days in advance and at least 6 days in advance for Sundays weeks 14 to 17. Now, since it is October 10th and the game is October 20th, we're already past that threshold of the 12 days. But just the legalese of saying generally could leave the door open. I don't think that they will, even though the Sunday night game suddenly is looking kind of booty, like Rodgers and the Salah-less Jets at the Steelers. I mean, they'll probably want to do it just because of the New York market and Rodgers, but you could see them flipping it. Or is it a spot where Fox flexes it out? Well, no, they're not going to flex it out because they got Kansas City, San Francisco in America's Game of the Week window with Tom Brady as the greatest announcer of all time. Yeah. So the Lions and Vikings is probably going to stay put. But, I mean, there's some other games that are probably going to be moved around either to the late featured window or even Sunday Night Football. So you look at Vikings, Falcons. I mean, it'd be great because, hey, I'm told that Kurt is primetime Kurt now. So just messing with that would be fun. They're probably not going to move Vikings, Seahawks. If Vikings-Packers or Vikings-Lions late in the season have playoff implications, that could certainly move to Sunday Night Football. But I don't know. Other than that, probably don't see many other ones moving, which is fine. Hey, underrate us and just play us at Sunday noon every single game. Hell, play the Super Bowl at Sunday noon. We'll have a good shot. There you go. Speaking of which, NFC Super Bowl chances in the NFC. I just said NFC. Via CBS Sports Line simulations, Vikings at 11%, which is ahead of San Francisco and Green Bay and Detroit and Dallas. No big deal, right? So what does this all mean? Nothing. Nothing at this point. 1 week at a time, but the Vikings are good. They're good on both sides of the ball, and they're getting some respect, and it's something that we got to get used to. Speaking of getting used to, it's kind of nice having this bye week, man. So Christian Darrisaw on the PJ, on the private jet. Darrisaw loves flying private. Wonder where he's headed. Anyways, also, those are ginormous feet. But I guess you can't really be a size 8.5 when you're an NFL left tackle, right? When you're 6'5", 330. Yeah. And then J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy is very brooding and deep. And I'm trying to parse out what this means. So you got the people in the bottom of the cave being entertained by the shadow puppets. You got people controlling the shadow puppets, and you got people finally climbing out, getting up to the sun. Is this like a Neo Matrix thing? Is this a bread and circuses thing? Is this a, hey, I don't know if I want to be above ground. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. As long as the game is on in that cave and there's food and snacks and adequate plumbing. Maybe some booze. I don't know. That seems like a nice, safe cave. Not gonna lie. I don't know. I feel like McCarthy's just too smart for me. But also, Cam Beasy, the pride of the Philippines, visiting Ling Nam, a Filipino restaurant in the Bay Area. I've actually been there. It's really, really good. He's got the Senorita / Star bread. If you know, you know. So it's a Filipino bread. And what you do is like it's filled with like butter, sugar, cinnamon, all that stuff. It's basically Filipino lefse. I think I'm the only person who can bridge the Norwegian and Filipino worlds. That's it, man. That's it. But those are really, really damn good. Not gonna lie. There you go, man. But that is it. That's Vikings Thursday news dump. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.